Hello YouTube, welcome to this video on how to diagnose and fix a O2 sensor problem on the BMW 2 Series drivetrain. Hello YouTube, welcome to unfortunately my first fault finding video on the BMW 2 Series. I'm not that happy I'm having to make this because I was hoping the car would be quite reliable. My one's done not very many miles, it's only done 25,000 miles over the last nearly 4 years, so it's a bit annoying to have the first fault. Symptoms I had was in the last few days when I come off the gas slightly when I'm decelerating. The car kind of jerks a couple of times. It feels like if it was a manual car, it would be like struggling to put it into a lower gear. It's an automatic, this one, which is normally incredibly smooth, so I assumed it was a problem with the automatic transmission, which obviously gave me heart attacks because that sounds like it could cost a fortune to fix. What I've done though is, following on from that, when I went to leave work yesterday, the car would hardly run at all, and it flashed up a big message on the screen saying drivetrain fault, continue to drive but get the car sorted as soon as possible. And it seemed to be in a kind of limp mode where it went really slowly. So what I've done is I've opened the OBD ports down here, which is just a flap that you pull to one side, plugged in a very cheap OBD scanner. I quite like these cheap eBay Bluetooth ones because all it really is a transmitter, and then you can install whatever software on your phone you want. I use one called Talk Lite, which is quite good, and it kind of means if technology changes, you can just change the app on your phone. You can keep using the same transmitter. Downsides of these cheap ones is it can be a bit temperamental. I've had to turn the car off and on a few times and really make sure it's shoved in, and turn the phone off and on a few times, and even reinstall the app. I don't know if that's the car's fault or my fault, but anyway, it's working now. The code I've read off, there's only one fault code logged, and it said O2 sensor, bank 1, sensor 1, which in a way is a relief for me because that's quite a simple thing to fix. There's plenty of videos on YouTube about BMW O2 sensors. Not many on the 2 Series though, but having had a look under the engine, it looks beautifully simple to me. So on this car there's 2 sensors upstream of the cat, the sensor 1 sensors if you like. After I've spoken to my parts guy, it seems like one of these is an O2 sensor and one of them is a temperature sensor. So there is actually only one sensor 1 on this, which the O2 sensor I'm assuming is usually the bigger one, so it's probably this one. So I've ordered one of those. With regards to bank 1 and bank 2, depends what your engine is, if it's a 4, a inline 6 or a V6 or a V8. On inline engines, bank 1 is usually the first 2 or 3 cylinders, and bank 2 is usually the back 2 or 3. And you'll have to check this, but I believe on a V engine you've got bank 1 or 2 is probably either side of the engine. To replace this sensor you will need an adapter. You can't really use a standard socket. The adapters look like this. It's a socket but with a cutout for the wire, so you put a normal wrench in the top, disconnect the cable, twist it round and round to get the old one out, and then the reverse process to put the new one in. You do need to be careful with the new one with the cable. Sometimes it can get twisted and caught on stuff and cut, and you don't want to ruin a £150 sensor from a bit of clumsiness. So take your time there, and also take your time to make sure you don't cross the threads when you put it in. You probably want to get the first few threads in by hand if possible, and don't rush it. Make sure it's all lined up nicely before you tighten things up. And thinking about it, the fact that there is only one O2 sensor upstream could explain the symptoms I've been having, because it's basically the whole engine is relying on this one sensor to decide how much fuel to put in, and if that's not been working, when I come off the gas it might run too rich or too lean because that sensor's not been reading properly, which maybe could cause it to judder before perhaps the car either perhaps starts working again, or the car decides to ignore it and just revert to its default. Okay, the new sensor has arrived from Bosch. That's what the plug looks like. So time to install it now. The first thing that I've done is unclip the wire. It just clips into this metal clip here, and it goes underneath the sensor here into a plug here. Okay, this is a bit trickier than I thought it would be. I've got the plug on the top half off. You use a screwdriver to flick the white tab up, and then you push it down as you would a normal release and wiggle it off. I've also pulled this heavy cable, which looks like it comes from the battery, out of the clip and moved it down to give a bit more room underneath the plug I'm trying to pull out. Right, I've finally got the top clip out. It was not easy. I don't know how you're supposed to do it because this clip is hidden behind a ton of other stuff over there. What I had to do is purely by feel on its own, get this scriber tool in there behind everything else, feel and carefully get the pick end in this, push that clip to one side and pull the plug up at the same time. And I got lucky, it didn't take me too many tries, so good luck trying that yourself. And this is the old one out. Quite a lot of soot on it, which might be the reason why it's not reading very well. It was a bit tricky to get out. I ended up using the socket on the end of a breaker bar, being very careful, because if you get the angle wrong you can strip the threads and then you're in a whole world of pain. So I pushed one hand down on top of the bar to try and keep it locked on central, and then use the other arm on the bar to loosen it, and that worked okay. Time to fit the new one. I'm going to put a bit of copper grease on the threads to ease it in, and then put it in by hand so I don't cross thread it, and then just give it a bit of a tighten with the bar at the end. That's all nicely replaced now. I didn't tighten it up too much because I don't want to damage the threads. Next step is to start her up, see if she starts. Sounds good. No errors on the dash, no errors on the screen. So the final point is just to plug my code reader back into the socket down there and check that that code has gone. And then the next step is to take it for a drive and hope that the symptoms that were originally giving me trouble have also gone. Anyway, hope that's been of help to you. Thanks for watching. See you next time.